What's the Car Talk Podcast?
Hello and welcome back to the Car Talk Podcast, a show where we talk about the latest car news and transportation opinion. Matty, how are you this month?
Yes, am I the presenter or the guest?
You're the guest.
I'm the guest, yes.
Well, you're actually always the presenter, but yeah.
We finally got a guest and she's female. Hi guys.
Hello.
I'm very, very good. How are you?
I'm alright, yeah. I've got some good news because we're going to talk about it in our theme today. A personal experience of mine that I might have mentioned before on the podcast.
Did you lose your virginity?
Yeah, that was it.
Yep, good, yeah.
Yeah, probably couple of years too late there, mate. But yes. But yeah, I'll talk a bit more about what my experience was later on. I'm going to kind of keep it like very secretive until the end, so people watch to the end, which they won't.
Yeah. This is it's very sinister, viewers. So do stick with us. This is the biggest cliffhanger on the podcast in a while, isn't it?
It is actually, to be fair. Yeah. But Matty, we'll start the car news, of course, as usual. Have you got anything to spice the podcast up with to start with?
Yes, I've got something that we've never mentioned before, and it's bad news from the north, unfortunately.
Oh no.
Yes, no, you've got to let me carry on with this one. Bad news. Unfortunately, the new Range Rover Sport will be built in India rather than the UK. It's going to be the first time ever that this car has been assembled outside of the UK, so obviously very bad news for the north. So.
Well, basically everyone that wants to buy one, which is a lot of people. Does it come with an option for like a ready meal curry, mate, in the glove box?
I'm not going to respond to such stereotypical things.
Well, if it's made in India, they must have some sort of like feature for spicing things up, literally.
Yeah, and obviously when you press the voice recognition button, it says "thank you, please" instead of. But yeah, I understand exactly where you're going with that one, and I will not participate, viewers. I am the liberal and open one in the Car Talk podcast.
I actually thought they were already made in India. I mean, that might be a stupid statement, but I know that Indians own them, don't they?
Indians own them. The parts are Chinese, the workers are British, and the owners are drug dealers. So
yeah, that sums up Range Rover and Land Rover. Good summary.
Yeah. What about you? Any car news this week?
Yeah, I've got quite a nice variety of cool cars for once, Matty. This is the first time this year. Yeah. I'll first of all talk about the... you might have to get a picture up of this, actually, because I've got it on my phone currently. It's the TWR Supercat, and you might be wondering, what the hell is that?
Is it Chinese?
I don't think it is, no.
Oh, yeah,
but if you search it up, it's TWR Supercat. That's the name of it. And what it is...
TWR Supercat?
Yeah. And basically what it is like a reimagined Jaguar XJS with a V12 engine, which is pretty cool.
I like the Jaguar XJS, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So this is very like modern looking. It's got a body kit on it. It's very green. And it has, yeah, as I said, a V12 engine, 600 horsepower. They're actually making 88 of them, which is pretty cool. I thought it was like a one-off kind of thing, but it is actually going into production somewhat properly.
Who are TWR? Are they like a tuning company, or are they...
I believe they are, yeah. I don't actually know for sure. I just saw it come up. And it says here, TWR Performance. And it must be... It's either a new company or it's like a tuning company. I think it is a tuning company because that's the only thing they've got on their website.
Right.
So it must be like a new kind of tuning company thing. But what do we think, Matty? I think it looks brilliant.
I mean, normally these things, are pretty much on the ludicrous side. But looking at this is exceptionally cool. And I've just read there that it's going to be £270,000. And I would pay that, to be honest with you. For an XJS V12.
At least we know that this one will be more reliable, hopefully.
Exactly, and it probably won't rust because of the fiberglass body or whatever it is. And of course, 600 horsepower, absolute no-brainer there.
Yeah, and it comes with a 6-speed manual gearbox, which is another great thing about it.
That is a bonus. Yeah, that is good.
So that is very,
normally
very cool.
you will find that they develop these things, and it's all going really well until they put like a CVT from a Toyota in or something like that, and you're like, you've ruined it. You know what I mean? Anything where they make a computer decide when to change gear. But yes, this seems like a proper thoroughbred, tuned, remastered car that was like today the XJS is pretty soggy, isn't it? Really, it's not.
It is, yeah.
Particularly fast car. It's not a particularly well handling car. It's just more.
You don't really see many of them either.
No,
there's probably as many of these left as one of these.
Yeah, how many are they making?
88 of these, apparently.
Oh yeah, there's going to be loads more of these in the XJS.
Yeah, at least running.
Yeah, a friend of mine though from school does have like a light blue XJS, and it looks well. Yeah, lovely car.
But that is the TWR Jaguar XJS custom custom mod thing. Have you got anything, Matty?
Yes, bad news from not only Italy, not only I think it's I've gone blank. What's Dutch? Denmark. That's it. Bad.
No, Dutch is Netherlands.
Oh no,
Danish. You mean?
Hang on, Danish. Yeah, hang on. No, who owns Stellantis now? Is it the Denmarks or who is it?
I thought it was a Dutch.
It's Dutch, yeah. So who are they? Netherlands?
Yeah.
Bad news from the Dutch, bad news from the Italians, and bad news to any sort of car fanatic out there who has a care for how cars look. Have you heard the news this week about Alfa Romeo, Bailey?
No, I haven't actually.
It's bad news. I was quite suspicious the other day, actually, because I saw a new Alfa Romeo, and I noticed that the number plate was actually in the front and centre.
Yeah.
Now,
is that on the Denali?
It might have been, yeah. It definitely weren't the saloon. It was definitely an SUV.
Yeah, the little smaller SUV one, yeah.
Yeah.
I keep seeing a load of those, actually.
And it's emerged that due to new pedestrian safety regulations, it now ends. There's no choice now. They have to end the long-standing tradition, it says here, of offset number plates, which I just think is actually more sad than it should be. Like,
I agree, actually, because
as a petrol head, because it just loses a little bit more of the car itself and also Alpha's identity. It's like almost like when we lost pop-up headlights. Like, they're never going to come back.
It's just very retro feeling, isn't it? Like the whole sort of concept.
Yeah,
of it.
It's just another way of the car being just a lot more uniformed now, which is sad.
It is a bit sad, yes. Would that apply for like aftermarket plates on cars as well? Like you can't get like a, because on my Mazda when I had it, I had a sort of like offset plate.
No, I'd imagine that it's just so a brand new car can get through the stringent regulations in order for it to be mass produced or whatever. I just don't get it though, because like I thought cars for about 10 years now have had this thing where is it autonomous emergency braking, where like if someone steps out in front of the road, you can't hit them anyway because the car brakes for you. So like, what is the point? There's been many a time like where I've been driving a car in work and like it thinks that I'm going to crash into like a bus that I've actually got me indicator on to go round, and it'll just slam on in front of it behind the bus when I was actually about to go round it. So like,
really?
Surely like it's impossible. Yeah, especially in Mercedes. But surely it's like impossible to run someone over now.
And also, how would having an offset plate even affect it anyway?
I don't actually know.
It's still stuck on like it would normally. It's just not in the right. It's just not in the middle, is it? It's a bit stupid.
That's a really good point. Maybe well, in the UK anyway, you're more likely to get hit by the near side of a car than the middle or the off
why
side.
can't they just put it on the other side? On the right side of the car rather than the left side?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
There we go, solution.
Unless someone really, really, really wants to die and they run from the opposite side of the road into the... Do you understand what I mean? And then they get hit by the right side, but... what's the difference if it's in the middle? What is the difference?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's pointless unless it like sticks out, as in, like the plate is on like a mount, which is what my Mazda had. If it's like stuck to the actual car itself, it's no different to having it in the middle, is it?
But it's getting really sciencey now. But like, surely if you get hit by a car, the whole
it's going to hurt anyway, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's just So yeah, we've sacrificed style for safety there.
But it makes no difference whatsoever, basically.
It makes no difference whatsoever, and Alfa Romeos just look even more like Peugeots now as a result. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Let's lighten the mood a bit, Matty, with the new Ferrari.
Yes.
What is it? Seen this?
I might have to Google this. Yeah.
The Ferrari 12 Cylindry is what it's called. It's 12, and then it's CILINDRI. I think that's how you say it. Very odd name. But basically, it's a new sort of GT Ferrari, modern and futuristic styling. It's got an updated version of the 812 competition engine, which is the 6.5 V12, 830 horsepower. It revs to 9,500, which is pretty cool. And first impression, Matty, does it not remind you of the old 1972, I think it is, or something like that, something Ferrari's 365 GTB? If you have a look at that.
I don't know what one of them is, but it's very underwhelming. Was that your point?
Well, yeah. If you search up the old Ferrari Daytona 365 GTB, you'll see the resemblance, which is, I think, they've done deliberately.
365
GTB.
Oh yeah, I remember what they look like. I remember. Yeah, that's an excellent looking car.
Which obviously, at the time was fantastic.
Yeah,
and
same then sort of silhouette. Yeah.
Yeah, they like the front's got that sort of black bit at the front to replicate it, and they're doing a convertible version as well, which is cool. Yeah, like the old one. But what do we think, Matty? Do you like it?
Well, there's a bit of backstory behind this car. The actual designer himself, he was thinking out loud when he was at his desk or whatever. I was actually working from it. This is a true story. Don't laugh. This is a true story. Yeah, it's true. He was working from home and he was thinking out loud while he was at his desk about when he was designing this car, and he was like, 12 cylinders in Italian, obviously. And his toddler actually repeated what he said and said 12 cylindry, and that's where the name came from. Yeah.
It kind of makes it seem like it's the first V12 in a Ferrari, doesn't it, with that name? Because it's like, we've done loads of other ones that are V12, but this is the V12 Ferrari that we want to make.
I think Daytona rolls off the tongue a little bit more as well, and perhaps
it does.
Has a bit more heritage. Well, anyway, 12 cylindry it is.
It's a cool looking car overall. I like the sort of resemblance to the old one. Whether it's any good, we'll find out, I suppose, in the future.
So is that? I was going to ask you actually. Do you have a car talk car up tomorrow today? Would that be it if you didn't have one?
Yeah, I suppose it would. If you think about it, it's kind of like a modern version of the Daytona. And who doesn't want a Ferrari?
Yeah, exactly. Moving on from a car of tomorrow today to a car for people of the yesteryear. News this week, if I can find it, because I do want to get the details up for you, Bailey, and I would like to send you a picture in the chat.
And link.
No, you don't need a link. I'll just tell you everything you need to know about this.
Right. Cool.
This week, the 100,000th Dacia Duster has been sold. Now,
I'm not interested.
Well, I've just got a very valid point about this. Before I send you these images, could you describe to me what you think the 100,000 Dacia Duster customer would look like? I'll give you a clue. She's a woman.
Okay. She wears jeans, like very sort of tight-fitting jeans.
Does she?
I don't know.
Okay, just carry on.
You want me to guess what they wear?
Well, I just want you to guess what a customer who buys a dark green Dacia would look like.
They wear glasses. That's one of the key points.
Yes.
Do they have like a velvety jacket kind of thing? A suede jacket, almost.
A jacket, yeah.
A jacket. Okay, that's very narrowed it down. And then some jeans or something.
Well, I'll send you the pictures now. This is Gail Hill. She looks, in the second photo, very mesmerised by her new Dacia Duster. She has bought the 100,000 Dacia Duster, and she said, and this is, quote, her voice, "I hadn't considered a Duster before buying my original one, but my son said it was a good car. I needed something with a bigger boot, and God knows why, and the Duster had plenty of space. Plus, it was really good price and felt very solid." She does say a bit more, but we won't carry on. Now, listen. I really wanted to mention this. I really wanted to mention this because this is a milestone in Dacia's history. 100,000 Duster. They've also coincided that with the news that they are doing a 7-year warranty on, if not all, some of their cars. Now, a bit of a maths question for you. How old would the average Dacia Duster or Dacia customer be by the time they get to the end of their warranty? How old is she going to be, Gail Hall, who's bought a Duster for a bigger boot?
Like 60s or something. 60s, 70s.
Well, yeah, okay. Anyway, that's all the news there from
that's quite
Dacia. Funny. Yeah. Would you like to move it on?
That is exactly what a Dacia customer does look like, though.
Yeah, it is. I thought you were going to say that is exactly what the Car Talk podcast is about. But
well, that is also what it is about. Moving on to some bad news, Matty, unfortunately. Because you know how much I love Porsche.
Yeah.
They have released a new 911 hybrid. Oh no. This could be the end of the proper 911.
Who knows? The beginning of the end for a while.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, to be fair, they have made an electric car a couple of times. Obviously, the Taycan, and they've made the 918, which is a hybrid. But this is the first 911 hybrid. And it looks like every other one, but obviously that's no issue really. It's got a nice sort of rear wing at the back actually. It's set.
Why do you like Porsche so much? If every time they release a new car, you just say, "Oh yeah, it does actually look the same, and it's a hybrid." Like, you're not beginning to fall out of love with them now?
Not really, no. Because if you drove one, Matty, which I'll get onto later, you understand why they're brilliant. Because they're just like they're the only car at the moment that actually make They make like proper raw cars, you know.
I forgot that you've got that flex over me now that we're going to come to later. Yeah, I get it.
Like, I mean, they still release cars now with manual gearboxes, and you know, I mean, how many sports cars do that now? To be honest, not quite a few.
Well,
not very few.
That Jaguar retune that we were on about before does.
Yeah, I'm not interested. But yes, this is set to be unveiled actually in a couple of days. Actually today, as we're recording this, which is quite cool. And it's going to have about 500 horsepower, which is pretty fine. You know, it's more than enough, really, isn't it? But you know, I know you mentioned that. Oh, why do I like Porsches when they look the same each time? But Matty, the thing is with Porsches, is they look the same over and over again because they don't need to change the design because of how good it is in the first place.
That's just a classic Porsche fan argument.
Yes, exactly, because it's correct. Anyway, we'll move on then from Porsche. I've got one more bit of news. What about you?
I've got a couple of bits, but some of it we can leave out there.
Okay, well, I'll do mine very quickly. It's a new AMG. I don't know if you've seen this. It's called the Mercedes AMG Pure Speed Concept. And basically what it is, it's kind of like... I'm trying to think of an example of what it would be like. You know when they did the SLR Sterling Moss with the no roof and stuff? It's kind of like that, but for the GT. And they actually unveiled it at Monaco F1 a couple of days ago. They had it there.
I love the paint job.
It is cool, actually. Yeah, the paint's really nice on it. Looks really aggressive at the front. Obviously, it's missing a roof, so that'll be interesting to see how it works if they're actually even making it. Because I know it's a concept. And yeah, that's kind of it. It's basically just like a standard AMG engine in it. Obviously V8, good. But yeah, I think it looks quite cool. Pointless, maybe, but it's cool to look at.
Yes, did I say that I like the paint job?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that the only thing you like about it?
Yeah, because it's just one of them makes that's just never ever going to see the light of day.
Yeah, I mean it's not very like practical in any sort of way, is it?
Well, it doesn't look like a make either. I think that's what has made me uninterested in it. Is that like it really?
I actually do agree with you, to be fair with that, because it does look kind of odd at the front, and I don't know what that massive badge is about either.
Yeah, it's like they're saying like, look, yeah, definitely a make.
It looks a bit too tame. Like the lights look too tame, but the actual obviously the splitter and stuff at the bottom.
But yeah, good for you, Bailey, for this month finally bringing us 2 interesting vehicles.
You're welcome. That's 2 more than last month.
I have a feeling if I do go into the last of the news that I have, it'll sort of dampen the theme. Like I wanted to end on a high, so okay. I can tell you if you want that Kazoo is called in the administrators and closed down. I can tell you about a horrible new Lancia, or we can move it on.
I'm interested in the new Lancia. Actually.
Yes, okay. There is a new Lancia Ypsilon.
Is that weird like sort of
have you seen it?
Kind of thing?
You will have to put a picture on screen. What the fuck is that? What is that? Like it's like if the car had piercings. You've got a big black strip over the front with the word Lancia on it.
It's weird.
Some black, it's like a car with a beard as well. It's got like a black nose ring, like horrible chintzy middle lights there, side lights.
How have they come up with how have they made this when nobody bought the other one? So where did they get the money from?
I don't know, because I was trying to. This must only be available in Italy, so obviously you've got the standard Lancia Ypsilon.
Yeah, true. That you do see them a lot in Italy, actually.
And this is a HF badged version, because Lancia are planning to make a return to international rallying. Obviously,
yes, I've just seen the rally one. Actually,
they were. I'm on about the rally one. So obviously that was what they were. What's famous for. So this version, the HF, will put out 237 brake horsepower. And yeah, it's not really a Lancia because it's going to share a lot of the same bits with the Fiat Bar. So
it's basically a Peugeot 208, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's Dutch basically. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
There's nothing Italian about it, is there? That's quite funny. Apart from the Lancia badge.
Everything is either owned by the Volkswagen Group or by Peugeot. So,
exactly.
I think we just need to ditch cars now and find something else that we like.
Yes.
It's just getting shit at every month. Like, have you ever considered football?
No, because that is an awful idea.
Right, yeah.
Well, I suppose if that's the last sort of car you want to talk about, Matty, I would like to talk about my theme this month.
Yep.
And I don't know if any of obviously because I've told you, but the viewers, I don't know if you know, I recently was invited to an event called SMMT, which is hosted at Bedford Autodrome, which is where they do all the testing. Basically, what it is a big manufacturer event where all the manufacturers, or most of them, come along, bring their new cars for the year, and you can basically sort of drive them. And obviously, a lot of people from car magazines go there, like Autocar and everything like that. So some YouTubers, TikTokers, it's just full of loads of people that do kind of the stuff we do, Matty. So it was quite cool to be invited to something like that. But basically, I just want to share my experience with you with the event, because I found it quite cool. Got to drive some interesting cars, which we've actually talked about here on the podcast, some of the cars and stuff. And obviously, obviously, if you've got any questions you'd like to ask me, Matty, then feel free to do that.
One burning question that springs to mind straight away is, how did a witty, funny, well-respected car enthusiast who's been on YouTube for nearly 10 years get missed off the invite list, and you didn't?
As in you're talking about yourself, Matty?
Oh yeah, it's me. Yeah.
Is it? Yes. Well, funny that. So Sam Worth, who we had on the podcast before, he was the one that messaged me saying, "Look, I've attended this a couple of times. Would you like me to get you in?" And I was like, definitely.
Rat, he never messaged me.
Yeah, I was surprised about that, actually. Yeah, hopefully I can do the same for you next year, mate, and then you can come
maybe
along
you
next
could
year.
message me next year. Yeah.
Yes, I could do that. And yeah, maybe we could do that next year then for you. But yeah, I don't know, Matty. Maybe because you don't post enough.
Oh right, okay, sorry. Okay, well, maybe you better tell us about some of your highlights from SMMT. I'm sure you're desperate to tell me what you've driven. Seven cars in one day.
Yeah, it was 7. So we managed to get 7 reviews done, which was pretty impressive.
That's how many I've released within the past 10 years.
That's true. Yeah. Speaking of, when's my Land Rover review coming out, Matty?
It just keeps getting pushed to the back of the queue. Simply
we should release it soon because I'm selling it.
Before I go to edit it, I've always reviewed something better that I'd rather put out first.
Really? Yeah,
the brutally honest answer to that question. I'll release. I'll tell you what. I'll put it out as the next review. So what my next upload? Yeah, it will be a review. So I will start editing that, and that will be the next one.
Okay, sick.
That'll be out next year.
Cool. Yeah, I'll look forward to that in 2026. So basically we managed to get 7 reviews done, which was more than we thought. We thought we'd really get like 3 or 4, which is pretty cool. So obviously there was a lot of cars there that obviously I couldn't drive because certain cars had to be you have to be 25 and over to drive them, which is slightly annoying. So it's like a lot of the Mercedes cars, BMWs, all of them are sort of like over 25s. And
how much younger are you than me? You're not that much.
I'm 23. You're 24, aren't you?
Yeah, but I'm like 25 in 2 months, so...
Yeah, so next year you'll be able to drive all the cool cars.
Cool.
So it's better to go next year when you can do that. It's like Sam's 25, so he drove the R8 and stuff like that. But in terms of some of my highlights of the day, the 2 standout cars that I drove that I really enjoyed were obviously the Porsche 718 Cayman GTS, which was a manual 4-litre flat 6. And then the Citroen Ami, which I finally got to drive.
You drove an Ami?
I did.
Oh, God. Was it... well, I was going to ask you when you said about the Porsche, like how fast you're allowed to go, but like, how fast could you go in the Ami?
Well, I managed to do a launch in it, and I got it to 29 miles an hour. And then it sort of caps off at the end. But it was really fun, mate. It was like one of the funnest cars there on that day, because it was just so like... It was like driving around in like a little like go-kart with like a roof on it. But mate, inside of it, it's really spacious, surprisingly, because you look at it outside and go, oh, that's just tiny. But when you actually sit in it, you can stretch your legs out in it. It's brilliant. Yeah. Obviously, if you're not 6 foot. I
am actually. Yeah, well, I will have to try and see.
You definitely need to give one a go, Matty, because I think you would enjoy it.
Yeah, the guy in my mum's street has actually bought one.
Has he?
Yeah, and at New Year when we were both pretty drunk, he was like, "Yeah, you can review all my cars." So like, maybe I ought to take him up on that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely give Ami a drive, mate, because they're really good fun. I mean, they're the suspension on it is really stiff. It's like having it's like the cheapest suspension they could have put on it, but it doesn't really matter because it's just like you just get like raw fun out of it. It's brilliant, even though it is electric, of course. And then the Porsche was great as well because it was a manual Cayman in yellow. Obviously, all these reviews will come out, Matty, so you'll be able to see my sort of reaction to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I drove around, like they had like different routes at SMMT. So they got like a city route, they've got a hill route, a road route, and they've got the big speed bowl, which is cool.
Oh, I've never seen that on the on people's videos. Times gone by, I've only ever seen the little gravel path that they drive down.
Well, you know when they did in Top Gear, where they did the Renault Espace video.
Yeah. Is that the? Oh, yeah, of course.
That's the bowl.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And are you allowed on there?
Yeah, so you allowed. So some of the cars have like specific routes available to them that you can go on. And I took out a Citroen DS4 on that for some reason. But the Porsche I took on like the hill route, which is basically like B roads, kind of like it's kind of like meant to replicate B roads, which is great. And there's a speed limit of like 60 miles an hour on it or something. So
cool.
But most of the time you're going quick, so you don't really care. They're not that strict about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then that was and then we did. So all the cars I reviewed I reviewed the new MG3, the hybrid sort of electric thing. Obviously the ones we sort of mentioned before. The Citroen DS4 because I just quite like the look of it, and that was alright. Obviously the Citroen Ami, the Porsche. Yeah. Then I drove the KGM Torres K40. Do you remember we talked about that?
Yeah,
that was interesting.
I've actually seen a couple of them in real life.
Me too, on the road and stuff. That was a really nice car, like inside, and the exterior is quite nice, but to drive it was a bit underwhelming. I have to be honest. It only had like a 1.5 litre or something petrol.
Yeah.
And then after that, I did the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, and then there was an off-road section where you could like go through big puddles and stuff. Yeah. Which was cool. And that was the 4-cylinder one, not the V6, unfortunately. But I was hoping it was the V6, but we got there.
It's funny how 50% of the cars that you reviewed on that day are Peugeots.
Yeah, because the Stellantis was all like one big marquee because they had like obviously Citroen and Alfa Romeo and all them. Yeah. And then the last car we did was again another Stellantis car. It was the new Abarth 500e, so the electric Abarth.
I seen Amelia Automotive review that actually.
Yeah. It's quite an interesting car because it drives really well actually, considering it hasn't got like a manual gearbox and it's quite a lot heavier than the previous one because that's like under a ton. It drove kind of like how it should, like how the original did, the one before. Sorry, I mean, but obviously it was electric. Which you
have driven as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can compare. What was quite good about the review of that is I could compare it with the one I've driven, the petrol one.
It's time to test your knowledge, Bailey, about this prestigious event that you were invited to that I was not. Can you tell me what SMMT stands for? I've got you there.
No, I can't actually.
Right. SMMT, Society of Motoring Manufacturers and Traders.
That's I remember that because I remember reading it on the
Sam. If you're watching, I know I've just called you a little rat, well, a ginger rat, but I've just said off the bat there what SMMT stands for. So slip us an invite for next year. That would be great.
Yes, I reckon you could do that. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to know about Matty apart from obviously? I mean, I saw a lot of cars there. Like I saw the new. That like weird like Aura 03 Pro
the
Plus thing.
Cat.
Yeah, that sort of weird car. I didn't drive it though. There was a lot of other Porsches, but the Porsches were so like popular because everyone wanted to drive them, and that was like one of the supercar brands that actually had an age limit of like 21, so you could drive them quite young.
Oh, cool,
so obviously they were sort of more open to everyone else. They also had like an MX-5 there, like the Mark 1, which was quite funny. Like
a tribute or like a
kind of a
crowd
tribute
drawer.
thing.
Yeah.
But there wasn't many like sort of sports cars there, apart from the MX-5 and like the Porsches and stuff. But like last year when Sam went, he said that they had like the GR Yaris and the GR Corolla and all that.
They did, yeah. I did see that on the videos, yeah.
That was a bit annoying that they weren't there this time, but yeah.
Of course, you can tell me about how the logistics of filming the reviews.
Yeah, because obviously you've watched my reviews and they're sort of like very in depth and like edity and stuff and cinematic. Obviously we couldn't really do that because we didn't have like 4 hours with the car. Yeah. So we kind of had to think of a different way of like filming it and a different style to try out. So what we did was kind of like Matt Watson's style, where he just sort of gets the camera follows him around the car, he talks about it for like 3 minutes, and then there's a bit of voiceover. So that's kind of like how we did it, because that means we could have
more
just
improv style sort of thing.
Yeah, more improv. I wrote notes about the car, obviously pre-event, so I knew a bit about them. And it was annoying because I chose like 10 or 15 cars that I wanted to review. And obviously we only got 7, but I had to like write notes about them all because I didn't know whether I'd get them or not. You can't like book them or anything. Another cool thing about the event is you got an app that tells you like what cars are there before you obviously turn up, so you know what's like coming up. So that obviously helped me with writing the sort of mini reviews, I suppose. But yeah, we managed to get like most of the filming done for each car in about half an hour, 40 minutes. So nice. it worked quite well, and it was very like quick. So we were just like sort of at it like all day, very busy kind of thing. But yeah, mate, it was a really good event. Definitely try and get you there next year, because I think you'd really enjoy it, to be fair. And there's obviously a lot of people you can meet. Hopefully next year I can do a bit more of that. It?
Did you do any networking?
Yeah, a little bit. I printed off some car culture business cards that we kind of handed out. But we only handed out like 3 or something. So we didn't really do enough networking because we were just so busy filming. So that's one thing I would have liked to have done more of, obviously. Yeah. Maybe next year we'll do less reviews and just sort of talk to more people. So yeah, that kind of wraps up the whole experience, Matty, of the SMMT Test Day. Hopefully next year I can bring you along. And that's kind
There's nothing like FOMO, is there?
True. And hopefully, I can do that. And that kind of wraps up the podcast, doesn't it? Overall, I think quite interesting car news this month, and obviously interesting car reviews coming out, which is quite handy. Would you like to plug your socials, Matty?
Yes, and before I do, I'd just like to let you all know that Gail Hill, the 100,000th Dacia Duster customer, will be on the podcast next month as our first woman guest. In the meantime, however, you can see my own YouTube channel if you type in Matty's Cars on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, Matty's Cars YT. And if you want to get personal and all that, and you've been leaving me CD comments like a few people have this week, you can follow my personal Instagram. I don't mind. Matsgram99. Yeah.
Who's been leaving you CD comments?
Oh, I've had this guy from Australia for like months, every few months, leaving me a comment like, I wish we had these cars in Australia. It's like a normal comment like that. And then like I had another one today, like saying like, oh, you're goddamn gorgeous. And his name's John Greaves. And like, I'm like, John, I've told you in the past to stop with these comments, you know what I mean? And he's commented again.
That's so weird. he's like, I bet he's like 48 or something, like a middle-aged man. But yes, thanks, Matty, for that. Obviously, you can follow us here on the channel, which obviously this will be on the podcast. And obviously, we got more reviews coming out in the next weeks, which is cool. So look out for that and subscribe. And obviously, you can follow us on social media. So TikTok's the Car Culture YT, and Instagram's Car Culture _YT. And obviously, if you want to follow my personal sort of account, which you can see me actually some behind the scenes recently, obviously of the day, then it's Bailey Prickett 27, and that'll be on my highlights. So yeah, that's all, Matty. I think we'll see you next month.